When was the last time you had a deep conversation about dating, finding a job, reaching our goals, and all the other intricate areas that make up our 20s? Every episode, I talk about these topics with real young adults who are living and learning along with the rest of us. If you want to hear how your peers are dealing with and conquering these areas of life, tune in. This is Building the Blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest here today is someone I wasn't sure if we were going to actually make this happen. He is the Vice President of Risk on the Interfraternity Council. He was the Vice President of Risk for our fraternity. He's a water park manager. One might even call him a director at some points.
Almost.
He is a to-be teacher and superintendent. He is from Orange County. He is one of my best friends. Please welcome Aidan Machesky.
Well, okay. Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for having me. I'd like to say first, I know this is a big get for you in the podcast, but I didn't expect you to build a whole podcast studio just for me. I think that's...
Oh, I'm renting this for the day just for you.
I'm very flattered that you built this by hand just for me, because I know this is really important to you. And, I just felt kind of, you asked me like over and over and over again. So I felt like I had to, see you up on it. But no, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad to...
People ask all the time, they're like, that's so cool that you got into odds. And I'm like, you think that was hard? Right. Getting Aidan Machesky on a podcast?
Only for you, I think.
And we negotiated. It was this or TikTok. So
I couldn't do a 20-second TikTok. Unfortunately, it was too much of a time commitment for me. So
the hour podcast.
I opted for the hour podcast.
Yeah. Well, Aidan, to get us started, so people can know a little more about you in a casual way, we're gonna do some rapid fire questions here. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Where are you from?
I'm from Lake Forest, California.
What is your major?
Psychology.
How old are you?
21.
Any siblings?
2 siblings.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite movie?
The Truman Show.
Coffee or energy drinks?
I love coffee. Doesn't do well for my stomach, so I think I've had to opt to energy drinks.
Favorite type of food?
Probably like chicken.
One thing you can't live without?
My bed.
Favorite hobby?
Probably watching sports.
Dream job?
Probably honestly, sports general manager. That would be awesome.
Yes, he did it.
Listeners, didn't realize we were in 2010.
Listeners, I'm sorry for your ears, but I've been gifted this beautiful pad of many sound effects, so you will be hearing it from now on.
Yeah,
I cannot.
It's like a child in a store.
I cannot help myself. I'm actually so excited for this. All right, Aidan. I was very sad last year and also very happy because we missed you for a period of time. You weren't with us.
You're happy, huh?
No, I was sad. I was sad. Where were you?
Yeah, I studied abroad in the UK last spring, London specifically.
And tell us a little about the experience. Where were you? I know you had an internship. Tell us about how many people were there.
Yeah, it was through the University of Oregon. It's called Geo Abroad. It was a psychology program with an internship added onto it. So I think about 40 students. It was half psychology and there was a half business program as well. They all went together for the spring term. We were living in London, but kind of outside of it. Not there's different zones in London. There's zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, 5, 6, whatever. We were in zone 2 and 3, kind of on the border. So not really into the city, but close enough where you could travel pretty easily to get to all the fun spots. But yeah, studied there. Psychology, took 2 classes. I worked at a hospital school called Chelsea Community Hospital School, where I was pretty much like a teaching assistant. The school is for kids that can't really go to mainstream schools or normal schools because of certain developmental or emotional or mental, challenges. They kind of get more specialized training and teaching at these sites. Most of the schools are in hospitals specifically. It's a school within a hospital. Where I was at was more of a point where there was after they could kind of graduate from the hospital to go to school on their own. I was there. I worked there for about 8 weeks. My main job there was pretty much just to do whatever the teachers asked, but I kind of fell into the role of being a scribe, where a lot of the kids at the school had trouble writing things down, where they couldn't. It was too stressful for them, or they didn't want to do it. So my job was to kind of write things down in their little notebooks to make sure they're getting all the information down, helping them. The first thing I would do is honestly try to get them to write, but that honestly didn't really work most of the time. But encouraging them and showing them that I can do it so they can do it. Did a lot of that. Played a lot of ping pong.
Yeah.
They made fun of me for saying ping pong. They don't call it that
Table
over there.
tennis?
It's table tennis. I think I played every kid there.
How'd you do?
Pretty good. I was almost undefeated.
And how old were these kids?
Generally about, I think the youngest was 12 and
Okay.
the oldest was about 17.
Okay.
So, sponsored by Red Bull.
Can't say that.
Oh, not yet. Almost. It's in the works.
Supported by.
Okay.
Not sponsored.
12 to 17. I mostly worked with the younger kids because the older kids are kind of more mean.
Because the older kids were more...
They were mean. I remember I walked in the first day. There's like 2 separate classrooms. I walked into like the first one, which was the younger kids. It's called Key Stage 3. There's about 4 of them. Whole spiel. Hi, I'm Aidan. I'm a American student. I'm gonna be working here for a couple weeks, helping out. Nice to meet you guys. Super, super awesome kids. I loved all of them.
Right.
Went over to the older kids' classroom. Same spiel. The reactions were the same. One kid, I don't know. I still to this day don't know what he said, but it was like something, 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 and then he said American at the end of it. And I laughed. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the nice kids who are younger and awesome.
Called you a wanka.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, I was in there a couple times. I wasn't not in there, but I kind of more gravitated towards the younger kids because they were more receptive to my Americanisms. Even though I still got a lot of shit for the things I'd say and the things I do.
Did that impact kind of your career trajectory at all? Because I know you want to get into teaching, right? Like, did that experience make you be like, oh, I want to teach maybe 5th and 6th graders and maybe not high schoolers, or maybe I don't want to be a superintendent. Maybe I actually do want to work with these kids more one-on-one. Did that impact that at all?
Well, I do want to be a teacher to start. I think that was definitely a moment for me where I kind of realized like why I want to do it. A lot of the kids have like real challenges learning, and I think, I want to be a part of their process to improve themselves as learners, as people, as students. So I kind of got a lot of inspiration as a result of being at this school. I think like seeing how students and kids can grow throughout your time instructing them or being there for them is something that really inspires me and really inspired me at the end of the process, seeing how far they've come. At the school, I specifically worked with one kid who, again, was really anxious to start writing and participate in class. And by the end of it, he was really writing on his own and we really connected. And the principal told me at the time that, he had not really bonded with anyone like that quickly. That was new because new people and change was stressful for him. But for some reason, he was kind of gravitated towards me and was really receptive to writing things down and processing. Played ping pong or table tennis with him every day. There were points where he was like not wanting to write and wanting to go play table tennis. I was like, dude, you gotta like...
Dude, I can't beat you. You can't beat me 8 times in a row. Like,
okay, well, more the other way around. But
right.
Like, dude, you gotta like do a little bit for me and then I'll come play with you. But like, just seeing him and his progress was awesome. On the ping pong front, I was, dominating him most of the time.
Right.
He did get a lot better. He bought himself his own paddle.
Wow.
As a result of playing.
So were you taking out your frustrations of losing so much here and taking it out on these English children?
And that was before we'd ever played ping pong.
Mm-hmm.
But he did beat me at the end.
Oh wow.
Where last week's he actually wasn't not trying.
Right.
I taught him how, he was a quick learner. Unfortunately, he beat me in the end. He was very excited.
Yeah.
But like just all those like little victories for him, I think was really inspirational for me and what I want to do in the future. Of course, I still want to like kind of like run schools or be a part of the administration process of it. But I think I'm perfectly also okay with teaching for a while and seeing kids grow and pursue their dreams and pursue their educational goals through my just involvement with them. So I think it was really inspiring to be there in that instance and be there for the kids and see how much they grow. So definitely inspires me in the future. I did know what I want to do before going into that, but I kind of really more hammered it in for me.
Yeah. As a whole, how did kind of going abroad change you as a person, right? Because I mean, you're a big supporter of it ever since getting back. You say everyone should go, right? Why do you say that?
Well, I think like one for me, I was a little nervous. Obviously, it's like a big change to go abroad. You're in a new environment. But I think when you get there, I think it's interesting when you talk to people that went abroad and studied abroad or just went to travel for an extended period of time. You just know like there's a connection there because when you're abroad, you realize how small everything is. I was so absorbed in the bubble last year of Eugene, Oregon, just, all the things involved, like Greek life or school. It's just you don't realize how small it is. And when you're there, it feels so big that like everything, your world revolves around where you are.
Right.
And when you go abroad, you realize everything is so much bigger and your life is so small in comparison and you kind of appreciate things. So as I went abroad, I was traveling and I was seeing all these different things. And when I came back to Eugene and came back home to Orange County, you really appreciated the smaller things. You appreciate your friends, you appreciated your home, you appreciated where you worked or your day-to-day routine because it was different and it's unique. You go to Europe and everything's different and you appreciate what you had. And I think it just opens up your outlook when you go abroad. You kind of see different perspectives and you grow as a person as you expand your outlook and perspective. So that's why I would recommend it. You kind of, grow your mind and how you process things and how you look at things. I think that's my main reason. Also, it's really fun to go abroad and just go to the pubs, especially, and this is London specific because a lot of pubs in London.
Yeah.
You just bond with people who are going through the same exact thing and the same exact process. So I would 100% recommend anyone to go abroad, even if you're not studying, just open your horizons and your expectations of the world because I really had a narrow perspective and you realize that after going abroad.
Yeah. One of the things that I found from my experiences doing very similar travel trips, right, is you have to kind of find your group early or you have to just hope the group is cohesive as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to people that are going and to make sure they do that because they have to make the most of it, right? Because I completely agree, but you kind of have to find your people pretty early or it's not nearly as fun.
Yeah, there's two sides to it. It's interesting. It's kind of like a game almost. I'm a big Survivor fan. When you get there, there's like 40 people and you kind of want to like find your alliance right away. Like who can I hang out with? Who can I travel with? Like what's the mindset? And at least in my experience, it was kind of very split like gender wise. Like all the guys kind of like grouped up together and the girls kind of had their own little separate things. And that was fine to the start. I think to your point, like, yeah, it's good to find people right away to like bond with and everyone wants to do that. It's not very hard to find a group at the start when you're abroad with other people that you haven't. I went in pretty much blind. I hadn't really known anyone going out. I've met one or two before, like briefly, but everyone's in the same boat as you. And that's important to understand, especially like even going to college for the first time is like everyone's in the same boat. They want to have friends. They want to get a group together. And that's okay for the start. But I think like as you progress, you really start to really pull back the curtains a little bit on who you're hanging out with. I think there's like a need and an instinct right away, like a survival instinct, fight or flight. Like I need to find someone to hang out with. Like I need to do all these things. But as you're continue to do it, like in any social setting, you're pulling back the curtain. You're finding out who you really connect with and who really people are to you. So that's also another exciting opportunity with abroad is you really get to connect with people deeper because you're in a new environment. You're bonding over that. It's like kind of a bonding experience, and then you're kind of finding things out about each other as you go on. So yes, I think it's important if you're going abroad to like understand the need to find people. But again, I think you can find the people over time. It doesn't have to be a gut reaction. A first person you see, that's my person.
Right.
That's okay for like a week, but I wouldn't stop at that. I think it's important to continue to meet people and find things out about people because first impressions, I think, are fine, but they're not everything.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some magic about going abroad that just happens where it's like the group of people you're with are just like, it just feels like you're on an adventure together. Or like it feels like you're going through this together and it's so cool. Like I haven't been abroad for college or anything like that, but I did two-week abroad experiences in high school, which were similar to one to New Zealand, one to Costa Rica. And they're so cool. And that's one of the things I want to do is I want to lead those like one a year eventually, like down the line. Cause I think like just getting abroad and it's just like you said, changes your whole outlook, widens your perspective.
Mm.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, I would agree.
Are you a psychology major or minor?
Major.
Why'd you choose psychology?
I mean, first thing, both my parents were psychology majors, and there, and like education is where I'm planning to be. So I kind of felt like that was a good path for me. So that was kind of like what I had set. But I also think one or two, I guess, I took AP psychology in high school and I really, really enjoyed it. And I had a great teacher and I was interested in the concepts and the different terms and how it related to your mind and how it related to me. I found myself like learning things and then connecting it, like self-reflecting on my own self. So I think like more of that interested me coming into college. I think it's really important to understand how your mind works and how others' minds worked as well, to kind of understand what people are thinking, what you're thinking, and how to process information and kind of frame your thinking. So I think a lot of things. I believe that was what really intrigued me, was understanding more about myself and how I reacted in my environment and how my environment or my genes affect who I am today and how that affects other people as well. So I think learning more about people was my main interest, along with my prior experiences in my family.
What are some of the coolest things you've learned about the human mind or human nature from studying and diving deep into psychology?
The coolest things.
Or that interests you the most?
Yeah, I think I've taken a lot of developmental courses just because of my interest in my profession, like how people develop. I think it's the biggest thing that I've learned, like the major concept is your genes and your environment and create who you are. But along with that, like people always say, oh, so-and-so started out like this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they end like this. Because the thing is I think there's a big misconception where you start in like a lower environment, you're going to end up lower.
Yeah.
And you learn in psychology, there's two concepts, equifinality and multifinality. And equifinality is when everyone ends up in the same boat no matter your start. That can happen. But I think people need to realize is no matter your start, you can always end up better. I think that's a big thing that I've realized is, sure, like your environment, your upbringing, your environment informs who you are today, but you can always alter that and change that through, your thinking and what you put yourself to and how you kind of set yourself up for success. So I think that's a big thing that I've learned is, your past doesn't always dictate your future. You can always grow as a person and as an individual. I guess that means the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing I learned, and I've kind of really taken away from psychology. Again, I mean, I'm done with all my psychology courses here at UO, so I'm a complete psychology student apparently.
Just coming from a psychology graduate.
Yeah, well, almost. I need to finish my second language, but yeah, I've really enjoyed my time in the major in the department, and I've really enjoyed like learning how people think and how I think as well.
I completely agree. Would you say I'm pretty social?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was not social at all growing up, right? So I think that's one example too, where it's like I was a total introvert, and now I'm definitely an extrovert, right? I'm a talkative person, and I agree in so many ways. Like that is one of my biggest life philosophies. I'm glad to hear psychology backs it up. Is like growth is so important, and growth can happen, and just because you're here doesn't mean you can't get there. Now, obviously, it'll be harder for some people depending on where you're at and the resources in your environment, but there's always that change possible. One of the things that I respect and admire most about you is you have great awareness, right? You're very emotionally intelligent. You have very good awareness of what's going on, what role am I playing in this environment? When should I talk, when should I not? And I'm curious from you, where do you think that stems from?
I think there's a lot of things. I mean, again, off the psychology route, the first thing is definitely your upbringing deals a lot with your emotional intelligence. I think how like your parents raised you and how you interacted with your friends at a young age really informs how you are as an adult. I think for me personally, I was a middle child, or I guess I am a middle child.
Was
right where I didn't really have to do a bunch of the talking. My older brother was very, very extroverted. He did a lot of talking for me. A younger brother who, youngest siblings, usually get more attention. That's perfectly okay with me. I was okay being like no attention, middle child, not needing anything. And I think that's how I've kind of become a person where I don't need to speak. I don't need to be heard in instances, and I kind of choose where I want to be. So I think that's the first thing is how you were kind of raised and what your environment was as a child. Again, like additionally, like through your environments, as you progress through life, like whether that's like leadership opportunities or, going to college, that informs how you are emotionally, what kind of shit you've had to deal with as a teenager or as a child or as a new adult. I think that also informs how intelligent you are emotionally. So I think it's a combination of your upbringing and your environments as you progress through life. I think where you kind of put yourself and what environments you put yourself in informs how you think and how you perceive yourself and perceive your emotions. So in my opinion, those are the two big things that I would say informs your emotional intelligence and hasn't informed mine.
Do you think most 20 to 30-year-olds have good emotional intelligence?
No.
Why do
I
you
don't
think
think I have great emotional intelligence.
I would say you have pretty good emotional intelligence.
Comparatively, maybe. I
Sure.
think in the grand scheme of things, most people don't develop their brains or prefrontal cortexes until they're 26.
Mm.
You may think you have good emotional intelligence, but you're continuing to develop. I think for me, like I always look back, you get those like 1 year, 2 year recaps or flashbacks on Snapchat or whatever.
Mhm.
And every time I look at like, oh my God, like I was so stupid back then. Like, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Because your brain is continuing to develop. And as long as I keep having those feelings, I know I'm developing. Because you're looking back in, I guess, disgust in a way because you're a different person in your brain. So I think, sure, maybe I'm emotionally intelligent for a 21-year-old, but I'm going to be more emotionally intelligent when I'm 22 and then 23.
Do you think that'll stop though when you're 26?
No, but I think those thoughts of like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that back then.
I think it's more severe now.
Right.
It'll be less when I'm 30 looking back at 28.
Because there's less of a growth in your brain. Sure, you're going to continue to develop your emotions and continue to process how you think and how you perceive your emotions, but the groundwork is developing now. Like the framework of how you understand your emotions is what's developing.
Right.
Then is like you're kind of understanding what's happening in the moment. You're not like developing how you're supposed to process and self-reflect. That's what's happening now in your brains. And that's really dealt through your experiences as an adult.
So can I get to a greater place emotionally, like intelligently, emotional EQ wise before I'm 26? Like, is there kind of a cutoff there of like, I can grow faster and I can get way smarter in all these ways, and like before 26, and then after that it's harder?
Yeah, the number 26 is an average.
Right.
It's not like set in stone for every person. Again, if you have more experiences where you're self-reflecting in your emotions earlier in life, you're going to be more emotionally intelligent before other people, before that 26 number of your developed brain. So sure, like maybe if you had like more stressful instances where you're developing your brain, or maybe you had more romantic relationships where you had breakups, you processed what you did wrong, things you did good early on in your life, you could be more emotionally intelligent later on. But again, I think it's very individually based and depends on the individual. But yeah, I think everyone processes their emotions differently, and it's very, very dependent on the experiences that you've had in your life. I think it's not very binary. Like, oh my God, like you're 26, like your brain's done.
Right.
If say like I was locked up in this room for 20 years, I have 6 years of experiences to develop my emotions. I'm not going to be fully complete at 26. If I hid away and didn't speak to anyone for the first 10 years of my life, I didn't, learn to process and kind of cope with my emotions, then I'm going to be stunted compared to other people. Mm-hmm. But if I grew up in like a poverty environment where I didn't have resources like other people have, then I'm going to be more tuned to those environments of high stress and negative emotions. To where now, say I have a more positive environment, I'm going to thrive in that environment because I've had the practice early on in life to cope with my emotions. That's the biggest thing, is practicing coping is how you develop your emotional intelligence. And that's not something you can like set up to practice. You can't like, okay, this terrible thing's going to happen to me today.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to work on my emotional intelligence. It just happens. So that's what I'll say is your experiences are the biggest thing to develop your emotional intelligence. I think emotional intelligence is a very like conceptual term.
Yes.
If you feel like you have emotional intelligence, you're going to develop it, I think. If you're like, oh my God, I'm very emotionally intelligent, you're going to believe it and you're going to act like it. Mm-hmm. If I had never heard the term emotional intelligence, I wouldn't think I am like strong in that instance. So I think that's another way of like a term that's like not necessarily like a real like scientific term, but it's a way how you like frame your thinking. I think that's a big thing in psychology, is like how like I'm interested in cognitive behavioral therapy, where you kind of change your thinking and your frameworks to change your behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm framing my emotions as like, okay, like I'm intelligent with my emotions, I understand how I'm thinking, I understand how I'm feeling, I'm going to continue to act like that as I continue on in my behaviors, in my interactions with people, or my interactions with new environments. So by saying to myself that I'm emotionally intelligent, I'm then going to act like it. But I think that's another big concept with emotional intelligence, is believing that you have it. So then you curate it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, I have a couple things I want to follow up on that. First one is, what you're describing to me sounds a lot like manifestation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Because I mean, you kind of give me a head nod there where you're like, yeah, kind of. Like, do you think that? What do you think about that? And what do you think about that as it relates to psychology?
Manifestation is like, in my interpretation, is like, this is going to happen to me.
Yes.
You don't really follow up on it, I guess. I think it's like, it's kind of the opposite of what I'm saying. Manifestation is like, say like, I'm going to get an A in this class. And then I guess it's sort of the same thing. But like, in terms of like framing your thinking, is more like an everyday process. Like, hey, I'm going to like, the biggest thing that I always like think about is like, whenever I like study for a test and I'm like nervous for it, I'll say, you know what, like, since I'm more nervous for this test, I'm going to do better on it because I'm preparing more. That's like in the moment, that's what's going to happen. That's like my thought process on a day-to-day basis. Like, oh my God, I'm nervous. I'm going to do well. Manifestation is like, I'm going to get a 4.0 GPA this term. And those little things I think aren't as followed up on as in that process.
I agree in a general sense, but I think if you're good at manifestation, I actually think it's the first thing. Like, I think it's actually every day, all the time. Like for me, it's like, I'll give you a super quick example, right? I was like, literally yesterday, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching a show, and I'm like, oh, I want to grab a Reese's. I walked to the fridge, I opened the fridge.
Hold on, pause.
Okay, don't
Audience,
do this.
Did you
Don't do this.
Did you hear what you just said?
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Mm.
What?
What's the name is Reese, right? That's
I'm
the name.
I'm not
Reese's.
doing this bull.
He loves the sounds.
I
Okay,
don't
keep
sound. It's my sound. Reese's. I was thinking, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go grab one. I opened the fridge, it fell out of the fridge, right? And then in my thought, the first thing I said to myself is, oh, I'm a great manifester. I just manifested that, right? Like, obviously, did I manifest that? No. But the whole idea is like, you're constantly, my whole thing about manifestation and relating it to that is, I think the difference is, if you're good at it, you're constantly looking for evidence on a daily basis. If you're bad at it, you're just making statements. So if you make that statement of, oh, I'm gonna get a 4.0 this term, you can't just make a statement is, I'm gonna get a 4.0 and that's it. I think manifesting is, oh, I just got 100% on my quiz, I'm gonna get a 4.0 this term. Like, that's evidence. Or like, I felt like I understood everything about that class today, I'm gonna get a 4.0 this term. And like, you're consistently looking for evidence to kind of back that up.
Yeah, I think my understanding of manifestation is more like a supernatural concept, where
Right.
it's like, it just happens. Like, you don't have to like follow up on it.
Not a practice, more of like a
Right. I like
belief.
in your definition of it, that would make sense. That does make sense. But I think for me personally, manifestation is like oh my God, like this happened. I said this yesterday, and like, oh my God, like it came true.
Right.
Like, it's like a dream or like a fairy tale. That's like my
Sure.
maybe like my, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say
knowledge or something.
no, I wouldn't say you're wrong. I would say, I guess my interpretation or my living of it is kind of a combination of a blend of the manifestation, hey, this wonderful thing is going to happen, and also a combination of like, hey, this is my daily thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
So
like, you have to bring the two together.
I think it all stems from the same point of like changing your thinking and your framing to kind of get a result that you want, or get to a point of behavior that you're confident and feel good about. So like saying like, I want a Reese's peanut butter cup. So like, hey, I'm gonna, like maybe this isn't the most healthy choice, but I need this to kind of make myself feel better to get on through the day. That's like framing it, instead of like being like, oh my God, this is like way too much sugar for me. Like I shouldn't be eating this. I feel bad about myself. Those are the two ways to think about it. So what I'm more saying is, pick the positive so you feel good about it. That you understand what the negatives are. Like, I know this is unhealthy for me, but it's going to help me get through the day.
And I'm not going to make this a habit.
Right. So if you're conscious about the way you think, that's going to create more positive results in your interpretation of what the choice is.
I'm curious if you've studied this at all, or if you have thoughts about this at all, and like having the balance between being optimistic and being kind of pessimistic and realistic. of I'm definitely more of an optimistic person. I don't totally know your thought process. If I had to guess, you're more in the middle, right? You know, what do you think the balance is between what percentage of the time you should be optimistic and what percentage of the time you should be kind of pessimistic and real about it and like really feel your emotions in terms of like if something bad happens to me, should I be like, that's life, it happens, like, and be happy about it and move on, be like, I'm glad I learned from that and find all the goods of it? And how much should I be like, well, no, that actually hurt me. I should process this a little more, right? Because I think it's a hard balance at times.
Yeah, I don't know if there's I'm sure there's a study about it. I haven't really looked into it or researched it or been taught about it. But personally, when something bad happens to me, immediately I'm going to feel pessimistic about it. I'm going to look back. It's like, what could I have done differently? What regrets do I have? Like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. I shouldn't have done this. Those are the first gut reactions to something bad happening to you. But I would say, like, on the flip side of that, as I'm processing those negative, pessimistic emotions, I'm slowly leading into the optimism. So like, okay, this happened. It's fine. It's going to help me in the future. Like, say I get a D on a test. Like, oh my God, this is terrible. I should have studied way more. I should have, gone in his office hours. I should have, done more of my homework earlier. I should have locked in a little bit more. Oh my God, this sucks. As I'm processing those emotions and feeling shitty about myself more and more and more, I'm like, okay, like, not the end of the world. It's just one test. I know what my plan is now. If I study more, if I go to his office hours, I'm going to get a good grade. So that's kind of like my, I guess, timeline of feeling pessimism and optimism is those negative things are going to happen first. But if you frame your thinking positively, as you process your negative emotions, you're going to give yourself a plan to be a better student or a better person, whatever it is. You're going to lead into that by thinking more optimistically through your pessimistic emotion.
Do you think I'm too optimistic?
I think you're very goal-oriented. I think you give off the idea that you're very optimistic. I do think you have pessimistic beliefs that you didn't frame into optimism. Everyone has those beliefs. It's impossible to avoid them. No one's going to be 100% optimistic, but they can present themselves as that way because they're good at framing it and creating goals as a result, right? So say, I know you're very on topic, say your TikTok, you post a TikTok, right? And it gets 10 views or something. Your first instinct might guess be like, oh, fuck, like, this is like, well, I don't know what I did wrong. Like, this is supposed to be a really good video. I put a lot of work into this. This is not good for me.
Right.
But you're going to say, okay, I mean, for every 10 videos I post, one does good. So this is another video that is going to get me to that point of one being good. And I'm going to post 10 videos a day, and one of them's going to be good, and this is part of the process. I'm going to guess that's how you're framing your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to look at you're going to look at your views or whatever and feel bad about yourself. I know that happens. That's human nature. You want success. If it doesn't happen, it hurts. But I think you're very good at framing your emotions into more goals and more, this is part of the process.
Right. Yeah. That really makes me reflect too on your point earlier about emotional intelligence comes from your experiences, and it's not experiences that you can plan out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, for example, I was telling you on the walk here, I had my first TikTok that like went viral, right? I got 150,000 views, really happy about it. And to your point there was, my videos average like 250 views, right? And so my whole thought process was like, I know these are what other people are doing that are getting a lot of views. And I know it's just a matter of time before one of these does really well, right? And my thought process was, okay, one of them's going to blow up, and then I'm going to feel awesome, and then I'm going to get thousands of followers from that video.
Right. But I will say on a counterpoint, when we were walking over here, you said, Aidan, how many?
Well, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Let me get there. Let me get there. And then it happened, right? What you're about to hint at is it happened. I actually didn't feel great. I actually kind of wanted it to stop getting big because then I felt because then you see the comments and then you're like, oh, it's really out there now. And you feel a little self-conscious. Like, is this really what I want? And then also I got like 10 followers. So then you're like, well, fuck, do I have to do 1,000 more of these? Like, do I have to 1,000 videos get 100,000 views? And it's a really good experience for just internal like reflection and being like, oh, like I kind of have to sit in this for a while and see like, okay, why am I feeling this way? What are my new goals? Like, where do I pivot from this? And that's been a really good experience for me. And my new mental frame, which I would recommend to everyone, which I love, which I just read from Seth Godin, which is actually a marketing term that I've been using for kind of self-confidence and not worrying about other people's opinions, which is it's not for you. Right? So like if you see a bad comment, it's like, oh yeah, it's not for you. Like no wonder you didn't fucking like it. It's not for you. Right? Or I have that same opinion where if someone just doesn't like me, like, yeah, I'm not for you. Like we're not vibing. Like that's understood. I wouldn't expect us to get along because I'm not like you. Right? And it's just a really subtle way to kind of be like, yeah, push that person out of your life and ignore these comments or ignore those self-doubts. And I think anyway, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah, I think it's a very valuable coping strategy. Again, framing how you're thinking and kind of making yourself feel more positive about certain instances. I will say with your lack of increase in followers, sure, that hurts, but I think I would personally check off the goal like, oh my God, this video did really well. Now, how can I use this, the lack of, I guess, growth of your page? I would self-reflect in the video and, okay, now how can I grow my followers? So I have an example of a good video, a good formula that could curate a lot of views. Now, how can I grow my base?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, not to cut you off, but like, it was honestly less about that. And it was more like, oh, I don't feel as good as I thought I was going to feel when I got this, right? Or it's more like, oh, wow, I really have to deal with like, do I delete bad comments or not? Or do I leave them, right? Or do I just never look at them? And it was actually more like, I would say for me, the new experience there was, like you said, I am pretty good at doing the framing. Like the second that happened, I did have that same thing. Well, great. Now I know if I can do 3 of these and I consistently get in front of them, I'm going to get so many more. Like this is an exponential thing. What really got to me was, okay, because I'm a very goal-oriented person, right? Like I have a target. The biggest thing that got to me was I really had to sit down and go, okay, is this the goal I still want to have? Right? Is X amount of followers? Do I still want that to be my goal? Is my goal, I actually don't want to do social media anymore. I just want to do speaking or just want to do podcasting. Right? And so for me, like the biggest change, the biggest emotional swings I have as a goal-oriented person who kind of uses goals to ground me at times was, oh, fuck, I don't think this is a good goal anymore. So that's actually the biggest things for me is actually like when things shake up my goals or making sure I'm picking the right goals or if I lose confidence in my goals, right? Because that's what grounds me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about growth because that was one of the things we were talking about as a topic to discuss before we came on here was comfortability and growth. And I'm curious for you, you're the one who originally had the idea. Talk to me a little about like why you wanted to bring this up.
I just think it's something that I'm very like self-reflective about. I love being comfortable. I think that's something that obviously everyone loves being comfortable. That's something I like maybe value too much. Where it's like, I love my routine. I love doing things that I like people disrupting that rubs me the wrong way.
Right.
I mean, you're very familiar with that.
I would say out of everyone, I'd probably disrupt that the most.
Right. But you understand, I mean, you're very, very familiar with my ways of, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm in a groove of feeling like how I want to feel and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
But that stunts growth in a lot of ways. It stunts like social growth, gaining new experiences or new emotions and developing that by being comfortable. So I think I've been more conscious about in certain instances putting myself in uncomfortable situations. Like you mentioned, going abroad is a very uncomfortable situation I put myself in. I was nervous about it. It's a new change. It's a new opportunity. It's new people. I haven't met these people. Are they going to be friends? Are they going to be cool? Who am I rooming with? What's the whole idea? Same thing with going to college. Like new experiences are
same thing with going to the bar on Thursday.
Right.
Drink wheel.
I know. Crazy. New experiences are uncomfortable. And I've always shied away from it. And because I love being comfortable. But I'm not going to grow as a person that's, playing PlayStation in my room all day. So I think it's important. It's an important point for me to be uncomfortable in some ways by this letting myself get out of the routine to be uncomfortable and grow as a person. So that's just something I've been very conscious about recently. I think probably in the past year, I've been a little more uncomfortable with my experiences and what I've done and who I've interacted with and put myself out there for new things. I think I've definitely grown as a person.
I think there's a ton of people out there that are just like that have the same experience and want to grow, right? But it's just hard. For you, what are the things that have helped you the most take that next step? Is it the people? Like, is it me pushing you? Is it your internal drive? Is it just the environments you're forcing yourself in? Like when you make yourself go to abroad and you don't even have a choice. Like, can you run me through some of those and which ones worked better than others?
I think just doing things and not thinking about them. Because in my personal experience, when you think about something for a while and you overthink it, you're more likely going to say no. Because you're going to think about all the bad things that can happen. Like, oh my God, this could happen. I don't want to do this. Like, this could happen. Oh my God, I can't do that. But if you just say yes and then don't think about the consequences, you're more likely to actually do that thing. So I think for me, the big thing that I try to do is just say yes and don't think about it. When you're abroad, right? When I was abroad, the biggest, I guess, conscious thought of mine was don't say no. In terms of trying new things and doing new things with people. Just say yes, do it. Don't say no, just do everything that you're offered because it's a new experience. It's something that can be awesome or maybe not, and that could be a learning experience. So I think the first thing for me was just always say yes when faced with a new opportunity. I guess in that little bubble of a 10-week period.
Right.
Kind of more at home and at school, it's still that kind of mindset, but it's maybe a little less. But I've kind of, put myself out there with new opportunities, leadership opportunities, social opportunities that have kind of made me say yes and made me take a risk, which is not something that I love doing, but I think it's overall grew me as a person as a result. So the biggest thing for me is just the idea of the concept of saying yes to opportunities is a big step for me.
Yeah. I have a thesis about this because I was also, believe it or not, was in the same boat, right? I just kind of went extreme about changing that, right, a little earlier. And I want your opinion on this thesis as someone kind of going through this right now my thesis is you have to make yourself do it by surrounding yourself with the people already doing it, right? Like for my experience is if you didn't have friends like myself who are asking you consistently to do these things that you maybe wouldn't normally do, you probably wouldn't do them in the first place. Or if you weren't abroad, you wouldn't have done any of those experiences because you wouldn't have gone out of those that way on your own, right? Or if you weren't on IFC and these people weren't texting you, hey, we're doing this thing, do you want to come, right? You wouldn't go out of your way to do these things on your own because that's just too hard. It's more to make it as easy as possible and make you actually do it. You need people pulling you in that direction.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the biggest thing is hey, do you want to come to this? And the first instinct is no, I'm doing that. And then he's oh, but I'll be there. And then automatically my odds of going are increased because I have someone that I can be comfortable with in case something in case it's awkward or uncomfortable. I can have that support person to kind of cling on to in a way. And if it's great, that's fine. I still have that person, but now I can interact and be okay.
Safety net.
So I think having that person, I would agree, lets you make those choices as well. I will also say, in addition to your thesis question, or I don't know if you're writing a paper or something, that could be the case, but I think also your prior experiences can let you be more motivated to do things. Say there's a new club that I'm interested in, and I've heard really good things about it, but I don't have any close friends that are in it, or I don't have anyone that's going with me. No one wants to come out and see this club with me. But I've heard really, really good things from my own, experiences or hear people talk about it. So I think that's a way of all right, I'm going to do it because I've heard good things. I feel comfortable with what other people have said, other people's opinions. In terms of again, tying it back to studying abroad, I didn't know anyone going into that. But I maybe didn't have a great freshman dorm experience. So my idea was, hey, let me escape spring term last year because my freshman year sucked. So based on my prior experience, I made a future choice. So I think that in addition to having that support beacon or person or safety net, having your prior experiences can also lead you to trying a new thing.
Yes. I found one other thing that's really, really important to that, which goes back to the identity, self-talk manifestation we were talking about, was how do you identify? Right? So I think one of the biggest things when you're in that mindset is you have to change who you say you are. Right? When I say Aidan, you want to come to a frat party? You're no, I don't go to frat parties. Aidan, do you want to come to the bar? No, I don't go to bars. Aidan, do you want to come to the gym? No, I don't go to the gym. Right? And so some of those make sense. Right? But I'm saying if that's how you identify, right? which is what things you have said to me before,
Right.
then that's what you're going to end up doing. And if you pick and choose, okay, I actually do want to go to the bars a little more. I do want to, go to the gym a little more. I do want to do XYZ a little more, and kind of make yourself dialogue. Yeah, I'm someone who goes to the gym a lot. I'm someone who enjoys going out to the bars with my friends, right? And then that's kind of your internal talk. When you get those opportunities, the odds of you saying yes are more likely.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. Look into it. It's good.
Yeah. Any book recommendations?
No.
You would like The Happiness Advantage.
Yeah. Again, I like science fiction.
Right.
Project Hail Mary. Highly recommend.
Yes. Aidan got me into that.
Andy Weir.
Dracula I just read. It was really good. What, bro?
Too boring.
What do you mean? It was pretty good.
I need like space.
You need space. Have you read Ender's Game?
I saw the movie. Crazy twist. I know.
Book is way better.
No.
Outside of school, Aidan, what excites you nowadays?
Outside of school, I mean, huge sports guy. I mean, I just love.
Tell me more about it. What sports do you like? What do you enjoy about it? Like, I think that's a common thing every guy says, but like, why do you like sports?
I think it's like just based off playing sports. I value the community a lot. I think sports is a great way to form a community of like-minded people that you can bond and just kind of have a good time. I think sports unites people in a lot of ways. People find common ground through sports. That's why I enjoy it. And again, it's very entertaining to me watching the sports I like. I love most sports, to be honest with you. I think it's a good opportunity for me to kind of like stop thinking watching sports. I mean, you can think about the sport, but it's not like a real
very present.
Yeah, it's like not like a real thought. You're just kind of like mindlessly watching and enjoying it. I think bonding with people you're watching with, I think, is very valuable. So I've always loved watching sports and just not talking, just watching the game is something I really value, and I think I'll always value.
Yeah. This is a little off topic, but I'm just thinking more about you watching sports and how that kind of being one of the things that's kind of your personal like recovery time of like, this is my time. I don't want to be super chatty during this. I want to watch this. I want to be present. I want to be calm. What is some advice you might give to someone like me who's pretty talkative for cues to look out for in terms of, oh, my buddy, knowing that some of my friends are introverts, knowing when to stop myself and being like, maybe this person's social battery isn't there right now. Or maybe, I've asked Aidan to come to XYZ thing with me twice. That's not like, how do I know, when I should push you because that's your goal to try and go out more, and when I should read the situation and be like, oh no, like this is one of those times it's just a straight up no.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of the time when I have a low social battery, I don't want to talk about it. Right. Because that like drains the battery as well. Because I've never really thought about like how people can read into it. I think it's if someone has a low social battery and they choose to hang out with you, I think that means a lot about the person and how much they value that person. A lot of time, if I have a low social battery, I don't really want to be around anyone. Mm-hmm. But if I do want to be around someone, I think I really value that person. I guess if you want like a tip or something, if you say you talk to someone and they give you like a one-word response, that's maybe an indicator of a low social battery. Mm-hmm. But I also do think at times that's just being comfortable. I think if you have a social battery that's low, or you're not feeling right, and you're choosing to hang out with a person that you enjoy hanging out with, I think that means you're comfortable in that environment with that person. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I'd necessarily have like a strategy or a tip to
that's fair
reading into people with low social batteries. I think it's honestly it's almost basic social cues of like, oh, this person's not really talkative.
Body language, things like that. Yeah.
But
I'm going to give you a situation. You tell me if I should do this or not. Okay. So I walk into your room. It's, 7th. It's 8 p.m.
All right.
And I say, Aidan, we're going to Rennie's. Right. Come with. And you go, no, I'm not coming. And I go, Aidan, are you saying no, you're not coming because you genuinely have a low social battery and you want to recharge? Or are you saying no because like you don't want to push yourself? Is that something I can ask you? Is that something I should ask you? Or is that going too far?
I don't think it's going too far at all. I think people that are introverted know how they're feeling in terms of like socialness. So I think like asking that clarifying question is important. I think a lot of the time else, like people say no, and there's a chance they'll say yes. So I think like even pushing your friends that are introverted a little bit can be helpful for them to again experience a new opportunity, make themselves uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But there are times where people or myself is just like, can't right now. I'm not feeling social.
Yes.
So I think asking that question is important, and having proper and honest communication is valuable. So yeah, I would definitely be okay if you asked me that question.
Yeah.
In the future, which I'm sure you will.
I definitely will. As long as I'm smart enough to, if you say no, like tonight's not the night, I'm going to stay home, recharge, not to keep bugging you.
Right. I think
accept that answer.
I think like if I have a low social battery and that's the reason, I'm probably more likely to say maybe than no.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that I don't want to hang out with my friends or like do that thing. I just maybe don't have like the juice for it. When the flip side is like, I just can't go to the bar. I can't drink anymore. I can't do this. Like that's like a more real reason to not go. Or maybe like I have plans with this person. Sorry, I can't make it.
Yeah.
That's like a no because I have something.
So if I see hesitation,
that's probably
check that.
Like, let me check in an hour.
Right.
Let me see where he is, where his levels are. If he's feeling better, then maybe you can come.
Right.
So I think like people that are like that, they want to hang out with their friends, but they may not have the greatest time as a result. So I think like seeing a little hesitation in a response probably means that. So yeah, I think checking in and asking that question is important about.
What's one thing most people don't know about you?
I don't know.
Anything. It could be, obviously it doesn't have to be something I don't know about you because I know a good amount about you, right? But maybe someone who first meets you, who gets to know you, right? And then based off the impressions that you think you give, right? What's something someone would be like, oh, I wouldn't expect that out of him.
What do you think?
That you're as funny as you are.
Pretty comedic, this guy. Yeah.
Like you're fun. Like when we first started this, like you were joking, you're making jokes about you coming. I mean, well, that's not a joke. I did have to pay him a lot of money to come on here, 6 figures.
But actually, yeah.
But I think especially in like this is something I see in a lot of my friends that are introverts is like in our close circles, so like the funniest person. And then in big groups, not the funniest person. And like kind of like shut down a little bit. That's what I would say. I would say you're funnier than you seem when you first meet people.
Yeah, I think it's like, well, first of all, with the joke at the start, I did plan it a little bit.
Oh, did you?
I was talking with your Ava, who's on the podcast,
right?
Back in the day, I guess a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I was like, I got a good joke. You got to watch the first 15 seconds of the podcast. It's a good one. But yeah, I just think it's like maybe I'm a little more humorous. People more comfortable about or with. I guess I do have maybe a dry or sarcastic sense of humor sometimes.
Right. Less silly, more intellectual.
Yeah, and I think in like group settings, maybe that doesn't land as well.
Right. With
people that would understand the humor. I think more like extrovert people that are like naturally funny with like one-liners or like zingers maybe may seem more humorous, but I personally enjoy more dry humor with like, I guess, the comedians I watch.
Right.
Love Norm Macdonald, rest in peace. Macdonald.
Dude.
He's my best.
We need to talk about one of his jokes off air because it was that I just saw it recently.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too is, I mean, this is my read on it. You tell me if I'm right or wrong, but one of my reads is like, your humor is a little more thought out. My kind of humor is more like improv-ish, right? Like I kind of feed on the like, how quickly can I hear something and I make a joke really fast, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that like I kind of enjoy versus seems like you're making more well thought out, more crazy references, this and that.
Yeah. I love a good metaphor. Love a good metaphor. My favorite thing to do.
You a quote guy at all?
Do sometimes dabble in quote.
Because I mean, as you know, I post a lot of quotes. I love quotes.
I do see your quotes.
Okay, what do you think?
About your quotes?
Come on, yeah.
I don't really read them, to be honest. It's just my brain rot. Boop, 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 boop,
boop, boop, boop, boop. Yeah, it's
not processed.
It's not for you.
It's all right.
It's not for you.
Not much of a reader.
Any quotes you want to share? Any fun quotes of yours that you personally enjoy?
I mean, I almost got this tattoo, but then I'm not a tattoo guy. It's the Walt Whitman quote, be curious, not judgmental.
Why does that stand out to you?
I just think it's like a way to frame your life and frame your thinking is, people have their experiences in their life. And, you may look at it and you may judge them. But my metaphor, my analogy is like, my life's like, my person's a bubble. And I wouldn't appreciate if someone judged me based on how I live my life in my bubble. So I think having empathy for a person and not judging their actions based off what they do and how they live their life is important. And have the empathy for them to like, okay, maybe what happened for them to get to this point? How did this happen? And be kind of curious about how they live their life and how their experiences have impacted who they are today. I think is honestly how I live my life and go through my experiences and my relationships, and not judge people for how they are today, because I know experiences and maybe hardships or failures or successes have impacted their life. So I think, sure, like everyone's gut instinct is to judge someone. That's just kind of human nature, in my opinion. But after that happens, kind of reel it back and be like, okay, maybe something bad happened a couple hours ago to make them act like this. Like, or maybe they had a rough week, or maybe they had a really great week, and that's why they're so positive. I think having the empathy and being curious about what happened is important to understanding how people are, how personally you are as well.
Have that. Aidan, thank you for coming. I mean, I know I bribed you, so I really shouldn't be thinking.
I know.
I should be more thinking my investors.
After taxes, it's only probably like 5 figures. So,
right. Thank you to my investors for putting up that much money
and building a studio. I mean, this
and building a studio. Yeah, we have to tear it. Well, we have to tear it down actually after this.
I mean, you can't. I mean,
now that you've been here,
your podcast has peaked.
Where do I go?
I don't really know. You might need I feel like maybe like Obama or something. I think he's next on the ladder.
I mean, like he's number 2, I guess, compared to you, but
I think it's close, to be honest. And I'm very self-reflective, I think.
Right. I could do like Mark Cuban.
He's way below me.
Oprah?
No. What about
Scotty?
No, I don't think about Luke Lennox. He should become.
That's a great point.
He's very philosophical.
I would love to have Luke on.
Luke, where's the camera? There it is. I challenge you.
It's like the ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, I challenge you to go on.
I feel like Luke and I are going to talk for like 3 hours.
Honestly, that could be awesome. I feel like, imagine Luke on Joe Rogan. That'd be awesome.
Luke's the kind of guy too where I'm not going to have any questions. Like we're just going to dive in.
I think the moral of this podcast is we need Lenny on the podcast.
We need Lenny on the podcast.
I would watch that for sure.
And we have a closing tradition on this podcast, which comes to...
I know all about this tradition.
Right, because you've watched the show so many times.
Every hour of every show.
Right. Yeah. We have a closing tradition on this podcast that comes directly from my favorite show, The Diary of a CEO, in which the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing whom they're leaving a question for.
Right.
And I'm going to elaborate on this one a little bit, just because I'm curious to hear your perspective on it. The question is, what motivates you? And I want to elaborate on that a little more, and more specifically say, when you kind of think about your life and what life is to you and what you want it to be, right? Like, what's kind of your North Star? What's motivating you and where you kind of headed?
The hell? I think what motivates me is my future goals. Big goal for me is I want to have children. So I think creating a life that people that are, I guess, my ancestors, or like when I'm older, they look up and like, oh,
my ancestors.
Sorry, all the way around. It's like, oh, like dad did this or grandpa did this. This is really cool. Like, look at all the things he did. I think that motivates me to create an environment in a life that people can be proud of looking back. I've always said this, I'm gonna peak when I'm like 70 on a lake, watching the sunrise with like a cup of coffee with Zach Bryan on a speaker or something, on a boat or something. Little grandchildren running around. That's when I'm gonna peak. And that's my goal. That's what I want. That's where I want to get to. That's why I think all my decisions in life inform that goal. And that's what motivates me. My future motivates me.
Aidan, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
This has been Building the Blueprint with Nick Batchelder and Aidan Machesky.